Welcome to my YouTube channel Bachelor and Master English. Today we are talking about a poem The Buddha's Wife by Ruth Silcock Pearson. In our today's discussion we shall be introducing the poem at a glance. There will be summary and analysis. The textual questions based on this poem can also be answered when we study this analysis clearly. Okay, I'm sure you'll accompany me till the end of this video. Let's get started. Here is introduction. Title: The Buddha's Wife. Poet Ruth Silcock Pearson. Published 1999 in Poems in Your Pockets. The collection or the anthology was by Ferguson. The genre is poetry. Subgenre satire and humor. Theme: the theme that deals the poet deals in this poem is women have been badly treated and exploited by men throughout the history. The injustice and exploitation to them does not make good conjugal life. So it's time we treated them equally, and it's time we regard them as the same wheel of the cart, and it's time for the preservation of this generation. And allusion and the very title Buddha relates that it goes back to a person who introduced Buddhism. And this Buddhism, the propounder of Buddhism, and what he did, and how he tortured the wife, or what contribution his wife made for him to make the great person, renowned person. Okay, there are other characters. Gandhi, who was attaining sainthood, but he did not pay attention to his dear wife Kasturba, who was suffering from pneumonia. He did not pay any time. He did not pay any attention, and he did not spare any time for his wife. How could he become the great person? Just only showing his indifference to his wife. He could include all those women and children and all these people for making India independent and free nation. And Krishna and his activities with milkmaids, it goes back to the time of Mahabharata, and it talks about that. So again, Saint Paul from Christian theology, Krishna from Hindu mythology, Gandhi and Kasturba from social or political side, and Buddha and Sudara from Buddhism. So there is a fusion of these things using these allusions. Okay, here we go with the summary. The poet describes the life of Buddha, Mahatma Gandhi, Lord Krishna, and St. Paul's painful stories of Buddha's wife, Gandhi's wife, Christian women and milkmaids of Krishna's time, past their time. She pleads this not to make fun of those great women, but describe their lifestyle, focusing how they passed their hard days. The poet shows her sympathy to Buddha's wife in the first stanza of the poem. Buddha's renouncing of the palace and his wife at midnight. What effect could it have in the mind of Yasodhara and in the mind of this young son, Rahul? It must have been really difficult for the wife to spend the rest of her life when she was not with him. He had left the palace in search of supreme knowledge. He didn't care about her life and happiness. There lies his wife's contribution to make him Buddha, the enlightened. In the second stanza, the poet criticizes Gandhi. He was also like a saint. He fought for awakening Indian people for freedom and independence. He led that movement to free India from East India Company, but he ignored his wife's and her deteriorating health. Being such a great man's wife, Kasturba died of pneumonia. He could never give time to her, not care and attention either. Had he given her time and attention, she could have survived. He refused to give foreign medicine to his wife. Instead, she was forced to intake traditional medicine and water from Ganges. As a result, she was devoured by Mr. Death. She was in the face of death before her real life could have ended. The poet talks about Christian women in the third stanza. Christian women are not free. They have to obey their husbands. The father of the church doesn't like them using hats of something like that in church, and worshipping husbands in large makes them stagger. The poet criticizes St. Paul and the priest of the church. Meanwhile, the poet goes back to ancient times, commenting on the activities of Krishna and in the last stanza of the poem. He created the problems to innocent milkmaids, whom he tortured by culling them on emerald lawn. He would take their clothes when they were taking bath in the nearby pool or the river, and he would keep them on his seat and would play. And those nude ladies, nude mermaids, what could they do? Just he made fun of them. How tortured they were. Can anybody imagine such situation? And these people from different religion and the great person Mahatma Gandhi, Buddha, Saint Paul, Krishna, they belong to three different religions: Hindu, Christian and Buddhism. Buddha relates to Buddhism, Krishna relates to Hinduism, Saint Paul relates to Christianity. And these three allusions, three characters from religion and one character from politics. Again, that person also relates to Hinduism. But their relationship with the women, their wives or other women in general, was not good. Their treatment of women was not good. Their attitude towards women was not good. And overall, the poet doesn't like them treating women in such a way. And she relates the time. Since time immemorial, these women have become the victims of discrepancy, have become the object of bad treatment. They have been treated badly by men throughout the history. And that's the problem of these women. And it's time we have to do that. It's time we did. Finally, the poet expresses that men have more chances or opportunities to perform an action like raising voice, using rights, touching his grace, than with limited works of women at home. This is all over the summary. Now let's discuss the poem in Nepali. The title can be translated as बुद्धको श्रीमती. बुद्धको श्रीमती भन्ने बित्तिकै अब सिद्धार्थ गौतम र उनको विवाहिता स्त्री यशोधरा र उनीहरूले पाएको एउटा छोरा राहुल यहाँ जोडिन्छ है. बुद्धको श्रीमती भनेर शीर्षक भने पनि बुद्धको श्रीमती लगायत अरू महिलाहरूको चाहिँ अवस्थाको कुरा छ यहाँ. अब बुद्धले नै आफ्नो श्रीमती, अब सिद्धार्थ गौतमले नै आफ्नो श्रीमती छोरा त्यागेर दरबार त्यागेर उनी चाहिँ गए. उनले कसरी उनको श्रीमान त्यागिन्? उनले त श्रीमान त्यागेको कुरा त हामीले पढ्न पाएका छैनौँ. उनले त्यागे तर उनले त्यागिनन्. उनले त आफूलाई त्यागे पनि त्यो श्रीमानप्रति समर्पण भाव देखाइरहेन्. उनको त्यो महिलाहरूले त्यत्रो समर्पण गर्नुपर्ने, पुरुषले चाहिँ उसलाई चाहिँ कहिले साथ लिने कहिले त्याग्ने, यस्तो चाहिँ एउटा स्वार्थी जुन सोच छ, एउटा नकारात्मक धारणा जुन छ अथवा अहमवादी सोच छ, त्यसले गर्दाखेरि महिलाले आदिम कालदेखि पुरुषको दास, पुरुषको भेदभावको शिकार र अनि एउटा सम्मान भन्दा पनि अपमानको पोको बोकेर, पीडा बोकेर जीवन जिउनु परेको छ. त्यो कुरालाई यहाँ कविले उल्लेख गरेकी छन्. यहाँ उनले त यहाँ महात्मा गान्धीले आफ्नो श्रीमती कस्तुरबालाई गरेको हेला, उनले आफ्नो श्रीमतीलाई समय नदिएको कारण अनि विदेशमा प्रयोग भएको औषधि, विदेशबाट उत्पादन गरेको औषधि दिएको भए सन्चो हुन्थ्यो, तर उनले दिन नचाहेको कारण अब गङ्गा नदीमा बगेको पानी, गङ्गा त पवित्र त हो, गङ्गा नदीमा चाहिँ सधैँ पानी शुद्ध बग्छ अनि त्यहाँको जस्तो फोहोर सोहोर जस्तो पानी पनि पिएर त्यहाँ त्यसलाई चाहिँ औषधि मान्ने. गङ्गा पवित्र हो तर गङ्गामा सधैँ पवित्र पानी बग्दैन, शुद्ध पानी बग्दैन, स्वच्छता रहिरहँदैन. त्यही भएर गङ्गाको पानी कति शुद्ध थियो त. त्यही पानीले पखाला लायो होला, त्यही पानीले चिसो भयो, न्युमोनिया लायो अनि उनी मरे. कसले हेऱ्यो? आफ्नो श्रीमानले समय दिनु छैन, आफ्नो श्रीमानले साथ दिनु छैन, आफ्नो श्रीमानले हेरचाह गर्नु छैन, आफ्नो श्रीमानले त्यसको चासो दिनु छैन, अनि त्यसपछि उसको श्रीमती, उसको जान कसरी बाँच्छ? यो सन्तता अथवा सत्याग्रह गर्छु र भारतलाई स्वतन्त्र बनाउँछु, गोराहरूलाई भारतबाट छोडाउँछु भनेर चाहिँ लिएर हिँड्दाखेरि सबै जनताहरूलाई लिएर हिँड्ने क्रममा उनले आफ्नै श्रीमती छोडे. आफ्नो श्रीमती छोड्दाखेरि अनि संसारले कसरी हेर्यो? भारतका पिता, तर भारतका पिता भनेर कहिँदा उनले पाएका ती 4-5वटा छोरछोरीका चाहिँ छोरछोरी पाउने कि आमा, माताको हालत कस्तो भयो त? वास्तवमा उनी त तिनैका श्रीमान थिए. यसरी आफ्नो श्रीमतीको हेरचाह नगर्ने. अर्को फेरि छ सेन्ट पल, सन्त पल र अब चाहिँ चर्चका अथवा गिर्जाघरका पादरीहरूले महिलाहरूलाई चाहिँ अब माथि ह्याट लाउन नदिने, कपाल छोप्न नदिने, अनि यहाँ विभिन्न प्रकारका गतिविधिहरू अब केही आफ्नो हिसाबले चाहिँ स्वतन्त्र रूपमा यताउति एउटा गर्न खोज्दाखेरि त्यो सबै कुरामा निगरानी गर्ने जुन एउटा काम गरे, त्यो प्रति पनि यहाँ व्यङ्ग्य गरेको छ. अनि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ भगवान कृष्ण भनेर जुन हामीले भन्छौँ, कृष्णको बाल लीलाका कुरा छ. कृष्णको बाल्यकालको लीलामा उनले चाहिँ कति एउटा गोपिनीहरूलाई चाहिँ एउटा ती सिधा सादा गोठाला, गाई गोठाला नहुन्, तिनीहरू गाई गोठाला गर्ने केटीहरू नहुन्, तिनीहरूमाथि चाहिँ उनले गरेको अत्याचार, तिनीहरूमाथि उनले गरेको व्यभिचार, सबै व्यभिचारै भने मैले, त्यो सबै कुराहरूलाई चाहिँ कसरी हेर्छ त संसारले? बिचरा तलाउमा गएर नुहाउन लगाएका छन्, कपडा छैन, कपडा जति तलाउको छेउमा राखेर नाङ्गे नुहाउन बसिरहेछन्. उनीहरूको कपडा जति लिएर चाहिँ रुखमा बसेर हाँगा बसेर अनि त्यसपछि त्यही कपडामाथि बसेर मुरली बजाउने अनि कसरी उनीहरू चाहिँ उसँग आउन सक्नु। सबै चाहिँ ती गोलेनीहरूको नग्न शरीरको दर्शन गर्न खोज्ने कति अत्याचार गरिरहेछ हो। यो अत्याचार यो महिलामाथिको नारीमाथिको अत्याचार हो। त्यो कृष्णको पालादेखि त त्यो खालको भएको अत्याचार अझ पनि महिलामाथिको अत्याचार दमन बन्द भएको छैन। त्यसो भएको हुनाले यो एउटा कविता यसरी हेर्दाखेरि यो नारीवादी सोच जगाउनको लागि पनि एउटा नारीको एउटा अस्तित्व एकदम इज्जतिलो अस्तित्वको लागि पनि उनले चाहिँ यो कविता लेखे हुनुपर्छ। नत्र भने हिन्दू पुराण बुद्ध र बुद्धको चाहिँ इतिहाससँग चाहिँ एउटा सम्बन्धित कुरा अनि क्रिस्चियनहरूको चाहिँ कुराहरू र सँगसँगै एउटा राजनीति र चाहिँ सन्तपनामा लागेको चाहिँ भारतीय नेता महात्मा गान्धीको कुरा गर्दै महात्मा महान आत्मा महिलाहरूप्रति किन यस्तो भयो त? यही हो। अब यहाँ के भन्छ भने यो रुथ सिल्कक पियर्सनले रचना गरेको यो कविता बुद्धको श्रीमती हैन, बुद्धको श्रीमती कवितामा बुद्धको श्रीमती महात्मा गान्धीको श्रीमती जुन एउटा इसाई महिलाहरूको अवस्था र अनि दूध बेच्ने महिलाहरूले कसरी जीवनयापन गर्ने भनी दर्शाएको छ। यस कवितामा माथि उल्लेखित जुन पात्रहरूले आफ्नो श्रीमतीलाई राम्रो र अथवा त्यहाँका महिलाहरूलाई राम्रो र आवश्यक व्यवहार नगरेको र श्रीमतीहरूको जीवन ती महिलाहरूको जीवन कष्टकर बनेको, त्यो कष्टकर बन्नुको कारक तिनीहरू नै रहेको, अरू कोही पनि होइन। जसको श्रीमतीले दुःख पाउँछ त्यसको श्रीमानको कारणले दुःख पाउँछ, उसको श्रीमानको हेलचक्र्याङको कारणले दुःख पाउँछ, श्रीमानले व्यवस्था गर्दाको कारणले दुःख पाउँछ। ऊ श्रीमती बनाएर ल्याउने उसको भोग गर्ने तर उसको वास्ता पास्ता नगर्ने, उसले सकुन्जलसँग उसको भोग गर्ने नसकेपछि उसलाई त्याग दिने हो। यस्ता स्वार्थी मान्छेहरूको एउटा स्वार्थीपना हावी भएको कुरालाई चाहिँ यहाँ कवितामा एउटा चाहिँ विभिन्न धर्म तीनटा धर्मलाई एकै ठाउँमा चाहिँ तीनटा धर्मका मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ महिलाहरूलाई कसरी हेरे त भनेर र ती चर्चित मान्छेहरूको चाहिँ कुरा ल्याएर यहाँ जोडेर यो कवितामा कविले यस्तो तरिकाले चाहिँ एउटा महिलाहरूको स्थान आदिकालदेखि आजसम्मको महिलाहरूको स्थान, पुरुषले उनीहरूलाई हेर्ने दृष्टिकोण र उनीहरूले पाउन नसकेको सम्मान र प्रतिष्ठा अब पाउनुपर्छ। अब नत्र भने घर घरमा आन्दोलन छेडिन्छ, घर घरबाट चाहिँ महिलाहरू चाहिँ जागरुक भएर हिँड्छन्। अब महिलाहरूलाई चाहिँ सधैँ हेप्ने बेला छैन। महिलाहरूलाई जुन दिनमा सम्मान गरिन्छ जुन घरमा त्यो घरको मान्छेको कसैको उन्नति हुन्न। त्यसो भएर परिवारको उन्नति, समाजको उन्नति, राष्ट्रको उन्नति र विश्वकै उन्नतिको लागि महिलाहरूलाई चाहिँ समान व्यवहार गर्नुपर्छ। उनीहरू एउटा रथका दुईटा पाङ्ग्रा हुनु भने दुईटै पाङ्ग्राको चाहिँ सही सलामत अवस्था चाहिँ भयो भने मात्र पो त्यो गुड्न सक्छ रथ, नत्र भने त अवस्था गडबड हुन्छ नि। त्यसो आफू मात्रै चाहिँ राम्रो बन्ने र आफू मात्रै चाहिँ सन्त बन्ने अथवा भयङ्कर बन्ने र आफ्नो चाहिँ श्रीमतीलाई पछाडि धकेल्दाखेरि कसरी चाहिँ रथ समान रूपमा अगाडि बढ्न सक्छ? कोल्टे पर्छ, छड्के पर्छ नि त। त्यो सँगसँगै हिँड्नु पर्यो नि त। अनि यस्तो खालको अवस्थाको बारेमा कविले बताएका छन्। क्रिस्चियन महिलाहरूले सधैँ आफ्नो अनुहार बुबाले छोपी श्रीमानको एउटा सेवामा गर्नुपर्ने अरे। महिलाहरूको जीवन कति कष्टकर। पौराणिक कालमा कृष्णले महिलाहरूलाई चाहिँ ती नाङ्गी नचाएको कुरा देखिन्ट लिएर सारा कुराहरू पुरुष र व्यवहार नभएका अवस्था संसारमा यो कविताले त्यति चर्चा गर्न खोजेको छ। अब यो कवितामा बुद्धको श्रीमती हुनुको अभिशाप कृष्णका गोलेनी हुनुको अभिशाप, गिर्जाघरमा पादरीहरूको अगाडि स्वतन्त्र रूपमा हिँड्न खोज्ने एउटा इसाई महिलाहरूको अभिशाप र महात्मा गान्धीको श्रीमती हुनुको अभिशाप, सबै कुरालाई एउटा प्रतिनिधित्व पात्रको रूपमा चाहिँ लिएर संसारमा महिलाको अवस्था बताइएको छ. Okay, that's all with the discussion of the poem in Nepali. Now let's talk with the analysis. Men and women are regarded as two wheels of the same cart. Women are taken as the preservation of generation. As we turn back to the pages of history, women have been mistreated or neglected or dominated by men from the long time. Women are given less opportunity to enjoy or to involve in each sector, either in political or social or religious or any sphere. Women have been called the other. They are just confined to household chores. In the poem, The Buddha's Wife, the poet presents the several examples of the females of or wives of several great figures, towering figures, or always remembering those leaders of those time. We respect and even pray Krishna and Buddha. However, in reality, the matter is not so simple as we think. Even in some of our religious books, women's work is just limited in the house. They are thought to work just in household activities. People think that they are weak, they are weaker sex, and they cannot do the hard work. They are supposed that they cannot gain the social status in the society. Intellectually they are inferior, physically they are weaker. And how can they move together with their husband, with men? They are exploited by men physically, mentally, socially, religiously, economically, and due to some superstitions or traditional way of thinking, they are blamed badly. They are subject to punishment and some nonsense reason. For some nonsense reason they are punished. We can easily find some examples about dowry system. If the girl is married to a boy, she has to surrender her life as well as the dowry to him. It is very bad tradition, and this tradition has been killing the lives of many young ladies especially in South Asia, in Nepal and India. To conclude, women have been mistreated by men from the past to the present. They should be given equal opportunity, and we should uplift, we should help to raise their status. So it's clear the poem is talking about the mistreatment of men to the women. In the male-dominated patriarchal society, women are always dominated and discriminated. Buddha and Gandhi mistreated their wives because Siddhartha Gautam left his wife for attaining supreme knowledge. And when he attained supreme knowledge, he became Buddha. Gandhi was involved in saint movement. He had nothing to do with wife in his vow of sainthood. When we view the last stanza as well as the evidence provided in the poem, it shows that the poet seems biased to men. She suppresses that men have more opportunities to perform an action like raising voice, using rights, touching his grace, etc., than with just limited works of women at home. The Buddha's wife brings this rarely told story of Yasodhara. She who says and her community to the forefront, offering a spiritual parable and portraits of those compelling and compassionate characters. The poem is an allusion to modern readers, a reader's companion. It offers practical application of their discoveries and teachings for our modern lives. Princess Yasodhara's journey is one of loss, grief, suffering, and the growth of wisdom and compassion. Through it, she experiences her own awakening with the deep bonds of community and ordinary relationships. The Buddha's wife is written in two parts. The first is an imagined historical narrative of Yasodhara's fascinating story as she might have told it. The second is the reader's companion filled with life lesson, practices and reactions for modern reader. Her story offers readers a spiritual relational path, one which speaks directly to our everyday lives. It offers a doorway to profound spiritual maturation, wisdom and awakening beyond the solitary heroic journey of awakened one, that is enlightened one, to the possibility of awakened we. The story of women's maltreatment goes from Buddha's palace via St. Paul to the olden days of cowherd Krishna, who tortured the maidens. Milkmaids hiding their clothes while they were swimming in the pool or the river. The poem can be interpreted as the fusion of satire, humor, and sadness. It tells us how women have been mistreated from time immemorial. History is witness itself since when the world kept shutting its lips and closing eyes to the tortures and sufferings of women that those they faced day by day. Pulse by pulse. Even in the religious scriptures, we find how women are limited in the narrow space and they are presented doing their housework. The poet has presented the evidence that even the Lord's saints and great philosophers used to mistreat or suppress their respective wives. Such pitiable fate or condition of women is still prevalent in the modern world. As readers, we feel pity on such miserable condition of women. The poet presents a bitter satire on the organized patriarchal system. Lord Buddha deserted his wife so that she could struggle on her own and went away for achieving perfection. Saint like Gandhi had nothing to do with his wife. Likewise, we have similar deep-rooted traditions where women have been mistreated. The tone of the poem is not only sarcastic and pathetic but also humorous. So towering figures are subject to pawn in the poem. The fourth stanza provides a contrast to the fifth one because the tone in fourth stanza brings sadness, but fifth is satirical. Similarly, the fourth stanza is soft, whereas the fifth is hard. If we talk about the degree of politeness, the punctuation brings difference and creates rhythm in the poem. The poem is a limerick. Rhyme and rhythm are common in such genre of poetry. Okay. That's all with the discussion of The Buddha's Wife by Ruth Silcock Pearson. And here the poet tries to compare the quality of phrase of different people like Buddha's wife, Gandhi's wife, Christian women, Krishna's milkmaids. The poet mainly focuses on how females have been mistreated by the renowned figures in the past and what tradition has been brought now. But for some male figures, those people who are arguing from the male point of view, it is the great charge against male. But what about women who have been suffering for a long time or since time immemorial? So it's not just only attack on male, it's an attempt that women should be equally treated and men and women should work together. That's the message which the poet leaves for us. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and patience. I request you once again to subscribe my channel if you are new, and please share my video. Thank you very much. Thank you once again.